in this business and in any business, the selling does not stop once that sale is made. In any business where you're going to continue to do business with a client, you will need to continue to sell, continue to consult that client, and, well, continue to obtain business for them. One of the things that's important to be able to effectively achieve that is that all of the salespeople in any organization should make sure that they have solid development plans and, of course, solid opportunities for maximizing their ability to lead an effective sales campaign. Okay, now with this, our sales leaders must coach, evaluate, and mentor sales professionals to enable them to develop and use these skills. This is the stuff that's on me as a sales leader, Roderick, it's on you as a sales leader, as well as Rick and Rodney, and anyone who's leading a team has to coach, evaluate, and mentor sales professionals to enable them to develop their skills. In a nutshell, I've got some people on here that are just viewers. Reiner, could you take a second to just explain what you did to get into the Hangout to participate? Because we're beginning to rack up viewers here, and I would like to see more people actually in the Hangout and able to participate and ask questions when it's appropriate and things of that nature.
Sure. I went to Google Mail, and then I clicked on the Google Plus, and then I saw the different features that are available in the Google Plus, and then I saw the Lyons and Associates, and I clicked Join Me, and then it went to a separate window with a little Join Me insignia clicking back and forth, and I clicked that, and it said Join Me Now, and then I clicked that, and then here I am. And then when you do come on, please mute your mic so we have no background noise if you have children or dogs or phone ringing, so it doesn't interrupt the Hangout. And that's how I was able to get on.
Awesome. And yeah, some of our background noises we don't even realize. Like my chair squeaks sometimes if I lean back.
Put some graphite on it, Mike.
I probably need to do that. And you know, this chair is probably not even 6 months old now. But anyway, it is what it is. I'll worry about oiling the chair later. In talking about sales preparations, it is absolutely necessary for a sales professional in an organization to model the things that have been successful to previous sales reps that are within that organization. These are things that, of course, we have in our training material, and they're the same things that we discuss in these Google Hangouts. This particular one is going to be on wrapping up your calls and also the sale after the sale. Of course, the objective of your sales call is to obtain the placement of accounts for collection. Now, this is something that can happen on your first call to a prospect or on any subsequent follow-up calls. Whenever this occurs, there is certain information which must be obtained from the client. If it is a new client placing accounts for the first time, the information should be recorded on a collection agreement, the client's information. In other words, they need to sign an agreement agreeing to our rate schedule. If it's an existing client that is placing accounts, then you should just gather the appropriate information on the debts that they're placing, and you would forward that information on a placement form with the necessary backup documentation, either to me or to info@lyons-associates.com or to your manager. At any rate, it needs to get to us to collect it. It's also important that when you put this information in, that it's legible. Now, the forms I have for placement are made typable, so you can do them on your computer, save them, and email them. Some guys like me are a little old school, and we like to write them up and fax them in or scan them and email them. When we do that, we just need to make sure everything's legible. Also, as you progress in this, sometimes you may want to input the information directly into our system. You can do this, or if you choose not to, data entry can do it. We do have data entry personnel, and we have them for a reason. If you do get to the point where you prefer putting your accounts in yourself, you would simply log in to the online access point that is given for that particular client, select add claims, and enter the information. For now, though, it's important to understand what information you need in order to assist the collectors in actually collecting the accounts. We do have a placement checklist, which is going to basically tell you need the name of the debtor. Name of the debtor means the company name, the name of the company. You've got to make sure you get it spelled correctly. I know this information is probably redundant for most of you, but there's reasons I feel like I have to say it. So that includes the company address, telephone number, the name and the title of the person to be contacted, and we also need to determine if the company is doing business under an assumed name. Now, sometimes this is obvious, sometimes it's not, and if it's not obvious, don't waste your time gathering whether they're a DBA or a corporation if you don't have to, because the collector is going to figure it out anyway. Secondly, we need to make sure we get the balance on the account, find out if there are any finance charges or other fees that should be added to the principal balance. Now, keep in mind, if you're going to do this, we add collection fees and interest onto every account. So these amounts are normally going to be automatically calculated. So in most cases, you want to put in a principal balance. You should also get the date of last sale, and of course ask the client if the debtor is still in business at the same address. This lets us know whether we need to skip trace that company or not. And of course, you want to find out what their last contact was with the debtor, what collection method was used, and what was the response of that debtor. In other words, why hasn't he paid you? Did he run out of money? Well, he might have. Also, it's beneficial to learn if that debtor is doing business with a client's competitor. If they know of this, it's a good idea for us to get that information, because the collector can use that information against the debtor. Also, some various other things are finding out if partial payments have been made, finding out if the client has a credit application on file with bank information and trade references. This is something that's important for the collectors and investigators to be able to affect payment faster on the accounts. If they are able to find out from the trade references that, hey, he's paying everybody else on time and he just chose you to tell you, hey, I'm not going to pay you. Well, that's good information for the collector to have, because he can use that against the debtor. Something else that falls in line with this is sometimes the client will have a personal guarantee. If there is a personal guarantor on the account, get the name, address, and phone number of the guarantor, and find out if the client has made any effort to collect from that guarantor. And last but not least, you're going to want to get backup information, which is going to be, statement of account, maybe invoices, sometimes correspondence between the debtor and the client, if they have copies of checks from past payments, if they have a credit application on file. All of these things will benefit the collector in being able to collect that account more effectively and more efficiently. Additionally, a lot of us are going after transportation industry stuff right now because, well, we make a lot of money off of it, and it's golden paper. It's like that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. If you're bringing in transportation paper, get a bill of lading. The bill of lading is the document that has the appropriate information on the consignor, which is the shipper, and the consignee, which is the entity that actually received the goods, and this is good information for our collectors to have. Above all, as you take the accounts for placement and review them, you want to evaluate just what you have. This is also a good time to educate your clients as to when they should place accounts with you for maximum efficiency of collection. Okay? This means if they're sitting on the paper for a year and a half or 2 years, that is not the right time to place the accounts for collection. We still go after that stuff, but when we do, we want to get them to give us a fair test, a cross-section of accounts that represents some newer stuff in there too, so we can actually show them exactly what we can do. This can also give you an idea of how quickly the balance on the account can be collected. And guys, keep in mind the balances that are collected on these accounts are what generates our agency fee. And fees are the primary source of your commission. So obviously you should take a personal interest in making sure you're getting collectible accounts that can be collected. There are a couple of points that should be emphasized with a client once accounts are placed. The first and most obvious is that the accounts have now been placed with Lyons and Associates. Okay, we are now responsible for collecting that debt. Sometimes the debtor may attempt to contact this client once he's backed into the corner by a collector, an investigator, an attorney that works for us. Make sure your clients know that this debtor may be in touch with him in response to our collection efforts. In these situations, the client should always inform the debtor that the matter is completely out of his hands now and that all contacts about the balance owed to them should be made with Lyons and Associates. This is going to keep situations from happening, like a client breaking week and accepting an unreasonable payment term on an account. Sometimes the debtor will run to the client and they'll make up all sorts of different stories, and some of them may be true, some of them may be not. But the point is, our collectors are trained to deal with this, and while the client may feel sorry for that debtor and accept whatever that debtor is proposing, our collectors will not feel sorry for that debtor. It is strictly business. This is business-to-business transactions, and the way I feel about it and the way our collectors feel about it is, if you are unable to run your business, you should not be in business. That's my opinion. Also, when doing this, you should explain that the client should not make any type of settlement or accept any type of partial payment from the debtor, that they should refer all such requests to Lyons and Associates. In addition, if the debtor should remit payment directly to the client, make sure the client knows that he must immediately contact you. Also, the clients need to understand that if a debtor pays them directly, that does not relieve him of his obligation to pay whatever our fee is for collecting the accounts. When this occurs, notify us, and the collector will write up the appropriate PTC form. Paid to client is what that stands for, and it'll be emailed to the accounting department so they can be properly billed. This is a point that cannot be stressed strongly enough. We always have to make sure our clients understand that they should not interfere in any way with our collection efforts, because if the debtor believes that he can go and run to the client for a solution, then that debtor or that debtor's attorney is not going to communicate with either our collectors, our lawyers, or our investigators. And if we can't communicate, we can't do our job. Also, the client should know, once they place an account with us, if for whatever reason that client wants to withdraw or cancel the account, we need to make an assessment and sometimes be given 30 days before that cancellation can actually come into effect, and sometimes there will be a cancellation fee assessed with that. Now that's something that's going to be explained in the agreement that they sign, so it's not something you want to hammer into your clients. Oh, if you cancel, we're going to bill you, because that's not always the case. The reason this policy is in effect is occasionally, and it doesn't happen often, but occasionally a client will attempt to pull some type of backdoor negotiation with the debtor once we've paid our lawyers to go in and we've paid our investigators to go in, and they'll say, oh, you know, I don't want to go after them anymore for some strange reason. That's why that's in place. It's only natural that we should be compensated for any efforts we put forth to collect the client's account, if we effect payment on that account. Secondly, we also want to get an idea from the client regarding how much pressure they want exerted on the debtor to collect the balance owing of them. Then you will need to grade the account by either a hard, normal, soft, or audit collection method. Now, any accounts that are are aged over 150 days should not be soft approach or audit approach. Your soft and your audit should be reserved for stuff that's extremely fresh, where the client wants to redevelop a relationship with that debtor. And this is something that should be specified when you're placing the account. Otherwise, it's going to go in as a normal approach, and we're going to do what we normally do, which is not always the best thing for the client's relationship with the debtor. Our job is first and foremost to effect payment, to get that client paid under whatever legal actions have to be taken to get that done. So that means most of the time we're going to go in with a really big hammer, we're going to swing it around, and we're going to get the client's money. So this is something that's important. You know, if they want us to go in soft, we need to know that so we can guide the collector and we can determine the degree of pressure that should be applied in order to collect the balance on the account. Because sometimes you're going to get accounts that are 60 days old and the client wants to get their money and they want us to send the debtor back as a customer. And we can absolutely do that. And on those, you want to put those in as a soft or an audit approach. Now, let's assume you've had a prospect place accounts with you. This is the sale after the sale. The selling process does not end with a prospect placing accounts. It's a continuous process. Once a prospect has placed accounts with you and has become a client, you must begin work immediately on making a good first impression. We have to do this to get accounts for placement from that client on a continuing basis. If you don't do this, you're going to find that that client has now become a prospect again. Some of the things we do to obtain the sale after the sale, once we've issued their online access and the collector and investigator has begun doing work on the account, we want to call that client and walk them through their online access point. We want to do this over the phone so we can point them in the right direction. Okay, this is very important because this is not something that the competition pays very much attention to. Okay, this is something that actually shows them the work and the effort we put into collecting their money for them. Whereas if they are looking at an online access point from a competitor, chances are they're going to have a status report there and not a whole lot of information on what's actually being done. Typically, these status reports give a very generic account status. They don't actually give the client the notes that are on an account. Well, our online access portal is completely transparent, which what that means is they have access to everything. Okay, they can see everything we're doing with their accounts. Therefore, they normally see this and they say, wow, you guys work really hard. Well, yeah, of course we do. Our job is to get them their money. And this is something that can begin putting you on the road to building a long-term relationship with your new client. Also, sometimes, well, actually, most of the time, when you write a piece of business, you want to preserve your gains. by getting off of the phone and not overselling. This is something else that can help you on your road to building a long-term relationship with your new client. Some of the rules you want to use in this are not leading the client to feel that you are superior or inferior to that client. In the business relationship building process, a real friendship is built. And that's generally done on a notion of human equality. Okay? Now, if you leave your client with an impression that you're superior or inferior to him, this can do real damage to your relationship and your future of getting more accounts placed with you from that client. If you leave the client feeling superior and he believes he has done you a favor, he tends to forget the service that you performed for him. And this is an oversight that can cause that client not to produce accounts for future placements for you. At the other extreme, if you assume an air of superiority, if you're patronizing, or if you give the impression that you're doing him a favor, you can leave him feeling that you're demeaning his own judgment and wisdom by placing the accounts with you. This is something else that will unlikely lead to a long-term relationship. Something else we want to avoid is not acting like the winner of a battle. Don't permit the account placement process to seem like a battle between you and the prospect. So you don't want to get a sense of victory when they place accounts with you, because if your prospect feels he has been defeated, the prospect will be very wary about giving you another opportunity to defeat him. Rather, give him the impression that he is the victor, that by virtue of his intelligence and vision, he has won himself and his company the opportunity to make significant reductions in his credit losses. Okay? Now, I know I mentioned a minute ago about using sometimes an effective get off the phone. When you do this, don't do it too hastily. Of course, you don't want to waste your time or your client's time, but also don't get off the phone so quickly after he's placed accounts with you that you seem to fear he'll change his mind. When you get off of the phone with a client, get off of the phone with assurance and confidence. Let him know you appreciate his placing accounts with you. Okay? You don't, however, want to be effusive with your thanks. You have done as much for him as he has done for you. So you need only express very simply in a few moments your sincere thanks, and then, of course, terminate your call. Now, when a prospect doesn't place accounts, something we want to stay away from is the bite back. I'm not saying don't be aggressive, because I absolutely want you to be aggressive, but too frequently inside salespeople that get turned down are hurt by it, and they show it. They react with scorn or sarcasm, and this can leave a bad impression with the prospect, and after that it's very difficult, if not impossible, to overcome. So, of course, it's always better to show some respect for your prospect. So you absolutely do not want to let a refusal to place accounts anger you. Suppose a prospect refuses to give you even a hearing. Maintain your attitude of equality, friendliness, and courtesy, however abrupt the turn down is, and make clear to the prospect that you are not disconcerting. Okay? Make your calls with an air of self-respect and self-confidence. The last impression you make on a prospect or even his receptionist or assistant is what can cause a decision maker to listen to you the next time you call. So if you've determined a need, if you've qualified the prospect and he does not place the accounts with you right then and there, plan your follow-up. Some salespeople, after receiving a definite no, do not make a follow-up call for several months, assuming that the prospect would not change his mind so quickly. Don't make that mistake. Make sure your prospect knows that you are interested in him and you're interested in his company and you want to build a continuing business relationship. Let them know you'll call back at a later date. Remember, too, that trust is a powerful technique. Trust and sales go together. Okay? The ability to sell goods is normally based on trust. So integrity, strength, and the ability to build a real business relationship is going to depend on trust. It's all about the inclination of a buyer to return to his source of earlier satisfaction. So what this means to you is that if you add trust to the services you have to offer, the least you should expect is a better chance of having a prospect place accounts with you. There's a tremendous amount of selling power in trust. The more trust you generate, the more you can see where your competitors have failed. The increase in your ability to get prospects to place accounts with you increases your earning potential. As an inside salesperson, your job is to influence prospects to place accounts with you rather than a competitor. And your prospects will place accounts with you for two reasons. One, they feel they have a need for a collection agency, and because they like the salesperson who is selling to them. So once a prospect likes a salesperson, he usually likes the salesperson's services as well. And on the other hand, when that prospect dislikes a salesperson, he usually dislikes a salesperson's service too. In other words, without trust, you reduce to an absolute minimum any chance you might have of getting a prospect to place accounts with you. And what's more, without trust you earn, you can even expect to lose clients if this is not properly built. This is all part of the sale after the sale. This is about building a business relationship that is going to have ongoing placements from a particular client and from every client that you write. 82% of companies that stop buying, they stopped buying because the salesperson did not bother to continue using the technique of building trust. So this is so important, and are absolutely ways you can help your prospect to like you and place accounts with you rather than your competitors. There's a handout that's in our sales documents on trust, which shows the basic understanding of truth, reliability, understanding, service, and time. And of course, this is an acronym that spells trust. Go figure, right? We're going to move on to client conversation. The ABC of getting prospects to place accounts with you is not always be closing. Okay? Now, it is always be closing, but it's also not always be closing. And what I mean by this is always be courteous. The salesperson with the reputation of courtesy is the one most likely to be welcomed back by prospects and clients. Courtesy is to the salesperson is what finishes to a piece of fine furniture. It's the polish that separates the courteous and successful salesperson from the discourteous and unsuccessful boiler room type salesperson. So, of course, first impressions are extremely important. Nothing produces as favorable a reaction as does courtesy. This type of reaction will often soften a prospect's attitude and thereby be helpful throughout the sales presentation or the sales interview, as some of you guys know I like to call it, because a presentation is an interview. You're interviewing the client to do business with you. After that prospect has become a client and has placed accounts with you and continues to place accounts with you, and as you speak to that client frequently, there's a tendency to get on the all too familiar side and forget the demands of courtesy. One of the things we never want to neglect is the things that we have to do carefully on our first call, which is the ABC. Always be courteous. I know some of this stuff I'm saying, most of you guys have probably heard this type of thing over and over from companies, and it might be redundant, but nevertheless, it's important. The salespeople who last are the ones who cultivate the nicety of courtesy. Most of the importance placed in sales is on closing and selling, and rightly so. I'm all about the close. I'm all about the sell. I'm all about the aggressive engagement. But one thing we must also realize is that the closing of a sale, this begins the moment that we greet and truly introduce ourselves to this prospect or client. Because now it's not just a sales pitch. This client is going to actually be able to see and experience what we're going to do for that client. So this is the real meet and greet of the relationship. So one thing to keep in mind is that each impression you make will either help your efforts or hurt them. Okay, so I'm going to go through a quick rundown of some of the points, and then we're going to open up the floor. Key points: show your courtesy by respecting your client's time, create interest, get his attention quickly, and earn the right to qualify. Get in, get through, get out. This is the height of courtesy. Your prospect will appreciate knowing that you value his time as well as your own. Okay? Show your courtesy by knowing and remembering your prospect's likes and dislikes. Make sure you know how he can prosper from the services offered by Lyons and Associates. He expects you to have this information. If you can say and do things you know will please him, he will be courteous and responsive to you. Also, show your courtesy in the tone of your voice. Ask yourself, is my voice weak? Is it uncertain? Does it betray annoyance or boredom? Or does it reflect sincerity? Does it reflect a willingness to serve? Does it have conviction that you believe that you and our services can help him? This is important. Show your courtesy by remaining attentive. When your prospect talks to you, prospects want to be listened to, just as salespeople do. The more you listen, the more you feed your prospect's ego and make him feel important, and the more you will learn that it is more profitable to listen yourself into placing accounts than to talk yourself out of them. And last but not least, educate your prospect or client. Give him ideas he can use. Some of the things our successful guys do is ask clients about their credit approval process. We have a sample credit application in our sales documents. It's there for a reason. It's something you can provide to your clients in assisting them in developing a better in-house scenario for their credit approval process. If you want to win the trust of a prospect, you must do more than show him how and what he will gain by placing accounts with you. You must actually determine how you can actually help that client in his business. When a client sees that you will go out of your way to be helpful, your prospect or client will respond with a friendlier attitude towards you. So, of course, the way to do this is ask questions about his interests, his problems, and not his personal problems, his problems in business, his objectives, and you listen attentively. You'll find that there is always something that that prospect wants or needs for his business, and sometimes for himself, and sometimes this is something that you can help him get. This is a very effective selling technique. Not too many salespersons use it. They want to get in, get the business, and get the hell out. Let's see what we can actually do to help the clients that we do business with. Man, this is so important. And let's assume, for example, a prospect or a client uses an in-house attorney to collect accounts. You want to find out what his success has been. Chances are you're going to find that the attorney has many judgments but has collected only a little bit of money. Okay, and this helps you to explain to this prospect or client how placing accounts earlier in the aging process could have eliminated the need for expensive litigation. If there is a tendency upon the part of the client to continue communication with the debtor after he placed accounts with you, for example, this is something else that you can explain. It only delays collection of the client's money. Sometimes you'll want to explain to your your prospects that you are now working for him. So sometimes you'll have to tell a client, let me earn my money. I will take care of this problem for you. Okay? There may also be instances when the prospect or client may not understand certain procedures, such as accepting checks for COD, or what to do about NSF COD checks, or how to collect on accounts receivable when a customer of theirs has gone bankrupt. Some of these are ideas that you can pass along to your prospects and your clients, and with this you will indeed generate trust, and you will build long-term relationships. Additionally, as you progress in learning about our business, what we do, how we do it, the more ideas you can offer to prospects and clients to improve their process, the more chances you will have of getting prospects and clients to place accounts with you. So collect ideas, you know. Keep a notebook handy, you know, jot them down, or put them in a notepad or a Word file on your computer. You know, put them down the very moment you think of them so they don't escape you. Me personally, I have an exceptional memory, but I don't trust my memory. If I have an idea, I write it down. I keep a notebook right here. Okay? So think about what your clients or prospects' needs are, then use your idea notebook as your bank of ideas, because someday you will draw interest from your bank of ideas in the form of more placements and higher commissions. I'm going to open up the floor for questions, and let's make this any questions about call details, and also in call details we can add objections into this if we choose. I know I've done numerous hangouts already on objections, but we can never talk about overcoming objections too much. So guys, get your guns out and shoot your questions at me. All right. So everybody's doing fantastic and closing a lot of business. All right, we'll go down the line. Mr. Elkins, talk to me, brother. Don't forget to unmute.
I don't know if I have any real questions about this. Because it's not because I'm closing the deals. It's because it's just I haven't had a whole lot of new stuff come up that you haven't already answered my questions to.
Okay. Well, that's good for me. All right. Reiner, talk to me, brother.
Yes, Mike, what would you like to know?
Anything, man. Whatever you got.
Well, I think that what you're saying today is when you're on the phones, if you kind of think of a flower in a bud before it blossoms, that's how we're approaching these people, and we're taking the layers off of the opposition to do business with us by asking questions, good pinpointed questions. How is it working for you? What procedures are you using in your collection methods? And being able to listen to them and offer them a better solution by using Lyons and Associates. And by doing that, I think that just reaffirms what Mike says by being courteous and offer a deeper solution than just a Band-Aid approach, which most of our competitors, that's what they're offering, is a Band-Aid approach. They're not aggressive. They're not taking collections very seriously. Obviously, that's why the collection industry is very dismal in collections at 12 to 15%, where we're more than 3 times that amount. And I like to emphasize with them, it's not that we're such super great people, it's just that we do what we say we're going to do. And we back that up by being transparent, by allowing them to see the notes with the portal access that they have. And I think that is a very strong point to hit home with them, is not only are you allowing us to collect in your behalf and retaining us for your services in collecting your money, but we are going to allow you to see everything that's happening right up to the point in time that you access your portal. Nobody else does that. And you have to have the confidence in being able to let them know that, yes, there's other collection agencies. They may have used them. They may not have used them before, but we know our business. And the more you know your business, the better off in position you are to stand with confidence and reliability of knowing that you're giving them good, strong information to help them. And if you're not sure, go do a internet search on Google or something for other collection agencies. There's quite a few of them in New York and throughout the country, and they're not very good. They're not very good. I've looked at quite a few, and you know, the thing is we have the support system here. It's getting better and stronger with our ongoing trainings. So it's just a matter of picking up the phone and doing our due diligence and introducing ourselves and being sincere. I think that's the big thing, is being sincere. I mean, it doesn't have to be 100% strong business talk. You know, people like to enjoy people, and we're all people. So be lighthearted. I mean, I just got an account the other day. I made a major blunder when I first started talking to Amy. Excuse me, I just mentioned her name, but no company. I started talking to her, and I had retained the name of the person previously that I spoke to, and it was Christy, and here I am halfway through. Well, Christy, I'll send you an email. Reiner, it's Amy. Oh, I'm sorry. How the heck can I win your business when I can't even remember your name? I mean, I was totally embarrassed, but she thought it was funny. And, you know, it was an honest mistake, and I hadn't made that mistake since, thank goodness. But, you know, it's just a point that, you know, you can make an honest mistake and make fun of yourself, because we all make mistakes. But the point is just be real. I think that's the whole thing, is being real, being honest, and don't forget you're a person and they are a person as well, and appreciate what they do and let them know. You know, nothing's perfect in this world. Nothing's perfect, but if they have a lot of enthusiasm, or they have a nice voice or what have you, let them know you appreciate their enthusiasm, or you appreciate their attentiveness to your phone call, because you don't get that on each and every opportunity, or you received well. But that just opens up the door to deeper conversation of business, and keep everything on a business level. But remember, they're people as well, and you're there to provide a service, and you want to reassure them that we're going to do the very best possible means available to us within the law to retrieve their money for them and their company, so you can make them look good. That's what I like to try to tell them, is my job is to make you look good in front of your CEO and your CFO, so the next time you go in for a board meeting, they see some differences in your outstanding delinquent accounts. And then I ask them, how does that sound to you? Wow, if you can make me look good, that'd be fantastic. You know, so it works, but don't give up. You know, Mike was saying earlier, no, you know, children are perfect. We can learn from kids. How many times do we have to tell our kids no? but they keep coming back at different angles, and they usually get what they're asking for. So sometimes we forget, because we're so adult and so mature, we forget to be a kid. Ask many, many times. You know, so what if they say no? No is just a never-ending opportunity to hit them at a different angle that might make sense. So no does not ever, forever mean no.
Absolutely. And, you know, I feel I need to mention something, since I talked a lot about courtesy in this hangout. Being courteous definitely does not mean to not be aggressive. Okay, we definitely want to be aggressive. The aggressive players are the ones that are winning the game. If you look at any sports team, your aggressive players are out there making points. Your non-aggressive players are on the bench where they belong. So, of course, be aggressive, but be courteous when you're being aggressive, if that makes any sense. Tucker, I haven't met you yet, man. Tell me what questions you have about us, or about getting in there and getting some business, or anything. Talk to me.
Well, I have several questions. I haven't really started the training process yet, so my information will be at the office around 3 o'clock today in the mail. But usually I have a lot of questions. Most of them are not really pertaining to this webinar necessarily, but once I start getting a better feel of what goes on and what information in the online CRM network that I have available, I'll certainly have more questions for you as we sit in on more of these webinars.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I mean, I don't know if you're able to see some of the group chat, but Travis and Trina have posted up some questions for you to answer.
I actually don't see them. Let's hear from Travis then. Talk to me, Travis. I don't actually see your chat messages here. I'm sure there's something I can pull up to see them, but if you just ask me, we can handle it now. And I cannot hear you. Let me see over here.
Hello.
I can hear you now.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
My question was this: the proper use of voice inflection. Speaking on being nice, polite, and courteous, which is always a given, but could you talk about the proper use of voice inflection so we don't come across too soft or we don't come across too hard?
Well, this is something that you're going to have to gauge on, and it's going to have to be gauged differently on each prospect you talk to. I know this isn't the answer you're looking for, but there's no quick fix for it. Mainly, what you want to do is take the time to listen to your prospect and learn to listen to your prospect from his point of view. Try to think what your prospect is thinking, and sometimes you can even anticipate questions before they're asked. Now, the thing that this has to do with voice inflection is that you're going to determine your actual inflection on what your prospect is bringing forward to you. Okay, that's how you determine what your inflection is going to be. So you're going to sometimes you're going to want to mirror.
I'll go get your emergency a little later. I just forgot about it yesterday.
Muting Robert. Sorry about that, guys. You're going to want to do some mirroring. In other words, listen for changes in tone and volume in what your prospect's telling you, and this can often give away hidden meanings. Okay, it'll help you to determine what the prospect is trying to say, and it will help you to listen for ideas and not words. You can also persuade your prospect as you're listening, and the main purpose in this is to draw your prospect out and have the ability to mirror what that prospect is, what his attitude is, what his opinions are, and what you're going to cover. Am I in the ballpark here?
Oh yes, you're spot on. You're spot on. I know I've noticed even from just listening to the webinars twice a week. Sometimes you'll get going, and then all of a sudden, literally, you'll just put the brakes on a little bit, not fully, but you'll slow down, almost as if like, okay, I got through this part, and now I'm just going to go ahead, slow it down, bring everybody back, kind of get everybody's attention again, and then you might get on a roll again, and then you'll slow it back down. Is that something that we should be implementing in our Canvas?
To be perfectly honest with you, when I slow down like that, it's because I catch myself going off on a tangent. I think from the seat of my pants. So sometimes you will find me going off on a tangent, and you know that's not always the best way to explain an idea. Sometimes I have to bring myself back and say, you know, where's the emphasis? Am I talking too fast? You know, sometimes I'm blowing through the words like a NASCAR driver, you know. and sometimes I have to slow that down so I can properly make my presentation. If I get too fast, or if I'm coming on too strong, sometimes I'll lose that natural cadence that really reflects a conversational tone. And I use the word cadence because it's something that drummers use to stay in time. They want to keep the beat, and that's something you want to do in your sales pitch also. But also when you're setting your cadence, you want to listen to the rest of the band. Okay, the rest of the band is your prospect. Okay, so when you listen to the rest of the band, you can get in cadence with the band and get in the pocket, make the groove happen. So, you know, that's something that can help you improve the overall quality of your speech and your tone, your voice inflection. And it's not it's not just the volume the volume level, but you're going to want to look at the pace or cadence, your actual pitch, as well as the words that come out in your presentation. Typically, on a phone call, and I'm glad you brought up inflection. You have one tool. Your tool is your voice, okay? And your voice is what will get participants to tune in. So listen carefully, stay engaged throughout the call, and if you're finding that particular prospects are less engaged than others, see if you can figure it out. Something you can do to improve your voice on the phone is to record yourself. You know, see what you're saying, how you're saying it, listen back to it, listen to your responses, and figure out if there's different ways to improve upon both your speech patterns, your inflection, your cadence, and that can help you find some ways to overcome some of these things. But also, on the other hand, don't focus entirely on inflection because you want it to be natural. Are there any further questions on inflection, Travis?
No, that was perfect. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better answer and a better teacher, so thank you, Mike.
All right. Well, don't inflate my ego too much because it's already big. Trina, I haven't heard from you yet.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you barely. You sound kind of like a robot, though.
Okay, is that better?
That is definitely better.
Okay, all right, I have to talk loud. My question is, if we ask, should we ask the prospect if they are interested in maintaining a relationship with the debtor? That way their answer can be noted and the collectors would know whether or not to go hard on the debtor.
Yes, but you typically only want to do that if it is a fresh debt, meaning 90 days, 120 days. If a client's placing an account that's 6 or 8 months old with you, it's not, chances are they're not concerned about the relationship, they just want to get their money. Mm-hmm. So that's something you want to find out when you're getting accounts, but if you're talking to a client about an older debt, don't even worry about it.
Okay, so 90 days is the cutoff?
No, 90 days is not the cutoff. Make 6 months the cutoff.
6 months, okay.
Yeah, 180 days. Okay. That way, you know, your ones that are falling under that time frame, you can find out, hey, do you want to keep this guy as a customer?
Yeah.
Because in most cases, our collectors and investigators are going to chew these business owners up and spit them out. I mean, the collection process in the commercial sector is not exactly the most friendly business approach.
Okay.
Have I answered your question, Trina?
Yes, you have. Yes, you have answered my question.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, do I have anything else before we close here?
I have a question for you, Mike.
Sure.
I was wondering if there's any resource online that we'd be able to look up some of the legal writings on actually. I'm trying to learn as much as I can about it, about what phrase this, the laws actually regarding the transaction and how that process actually works between a collection agency and a debtor in this setting. I mean, I was just wondering if you think that would be useful to read about, or to actually know how that process works and who's responsible for what.
It's not something you really want to get into yet. I would wait until you're a little more familiar with our business model, and that most of the legalities in collections is going to be stuff that the collectors have to know and abide by. And additionally, some of it in the beginning, when you're coming into this industry fresh, some of it can be a little confusing because there are a lot of laws out there that pertain specifically to consumer debt that do not pertain to commercial debt. And we do strictly commercial, so a lot of the things that you're going to find out there are going to be stuff on consumer debt, you know, about bad agencies that beat up on consumers for their credit card debts or student loans, or the guys who chase down little old ladies who can't afford their mortgage payments. That's there should be laws against those guys. And most of them should be ashamed of themselves, but we're in a completely different market. I mean, the markets are similar,
right?
But it's two completely different animals.
Okay.
So for the beginning, what you're going to want to focus on is what we do to sell the service, and pretty much what you're going to want to do is, as soon as we get your sales unit set up and you have your leads and prospects in there, you're going to want to just start making calls. The best way to do this is literally to feed yourself to the wolves. And you're going to find out real fast what areas of your presentation need work. And don't worry about burning leads or anything like that. You know, if you get your rear end handed to you on a call, either call them back at a later date or delete it. You know, that's pretty much it. We have plenty of leads, and that's something you're going to have to do to learn how to sell this service. And also, this is something that if you get on there and make the calls, you will write business. You will run into prospects just from simply making the calls. Everybody I've seen that gets in there and puts in 100 calls a day is writing business before they even learn what to do. But the thing in that is you've got to get in there, make the calls, and build the momentum. Because as you start getting in there and building momentum, you write business, and as you're writing that business, you begin to learn about things that can help you increase your close ratio. Because in this, anybody can write business just from making phone calls. But the main thing is to get in there and learn how to do it right, basically. If you've looked at the starter manual, I have a statement in there that says if you came here from another collection agency, forget everything they taught you. I have that in there for a reason, because we do things differently. We know what works, and we do what works, and we do the things that make clients happy. A lot of agencies will teach you the turn and burn techniques, which I don't understand why they would want to do that in this industry, because we're in an industry where clients will place repeat business with you. I mean, who doesn't want repeat business? So, if there is nothing else at this time, we're going to close. And we'll do another one of these Friday. And if you haven't seen the other ones, they're on our YouTube channel. So take a look. Anything else from anybody before we close? All right, guys. Well, I guess that's it. Have a powerful day. I see I have some viewers down there that weren't able to make it in. If you guys that are viewers that weren't able to make it in, if you have any questions, give me a shot. Give me a call, and I'll personally address whatever they are, and we can do it on a one-on-one basis. And I'll see you guys Friday, and some of you guys I'll probably talk to sooner. So let's make some money, gentlemen and ladies.